Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into the absolute legend that is Hakeem Olajuwon. If you follow hoops, you already know he's an all-time great, right? But what we're really going to unpack today is how his profound spiritual journey fundamentally shaped not just his life, but his game, and honestly, the entire NBA.
We gotta start with the ultimate praise. Basketball Hall of Fame coach Pete Newell actually echoed what legends like Michael Jordan and Shaquille O'Neal have said all along. They all recognized Olajuwon's unprecedented versatility and finesse around the rim. I mean, he wasn't just a big man, he was this revolutionary talent who completely rewrote how the center position could be played.
Here is how we're going to break this down today. First, the ultimate big man. Then, the signature dream shake, followed by a spiritual awakening, competing during Ramadan, and finally, being Muslim in the NBA.
All right, Section 1, the ultimate big man.
So, what exactly made Hakeem the Dream such an absolute force of nature? Well, look at the 1993-94 season. The league witnessed a level of two-way dominance it had literally never seen before and hasn't seen since. He won the NBA Most Valuable Player, the Defensive Player of the Year, and the Finals MVP awards. He remains the only player in NBA history to win all three in a single season. It's just wild. He was an absolute brick wall on defense and an unstoppable machine on offense, leading the Rockets to their first ever franchise championship.
And hey, if you want a metric for his sheer defensive intimidation, 3,830. That is his unbreakable NBA all-time blocked shots record. He didn't just contest shots, you guys. He completely erased them. To this day, he is the only player in NBA history to record more than 3,000 blocks and 2,000 steals in a career. That perfectly highlights this just ridiculously rare combination of size, speed, and timing he had.
Moving on to Section 2, the signature dream shake.
Now, Hakeem surprisingly traced the origins of his famous post moves back to his youth playing soccer as a goalkeeper in Lagos, Nigeria. He actually viewed basketball as a science, so the anatomy of his signature dream shake was incredibly calculated. It started with a touch landing, which is basically a jump to catch the ball where he's moving before he even hits the ground. That was designed to just completely freeze the defender. Then comes the baseline fake, and finally the pivot choice, leaving the defender totally devastated in their tracks. So it wasn't just raw athleticism, right? It was this devastatingly precise series of fakes and counter moves that made him practically impossible to guard.
All right, Section 3, a spiritual awakening.
But honestly, the most crucial part of Hakeem's story is the profound transformation that happened completely off the court. In his early years at the University of Houston, and when he first entered the NBA, he was known as Hakeem, spelled with no H. He was often seen as undisciplined, raw, talking back to officials, racking up technical fouls. But as he took an active interest in his spirituality, a massive shift occurred. He transitioned into a deeply, deeply disciplined champion. He actually marked this shift publicly in 1991 by correcting the spelling of his name to Hakeem, signaling a total embrace of his roots and his faith.
He said he didn't just dabble in the faith, he gave himself over to it entirely. He started reading the Quran every single day. I mean, he'd read it on airplanes, in locker rooms, before and after games, just soaking up the faith and letting it totally govern his character. Even his teammates, like Clyde Drexler, noted that his religion began to dominate his life in the absolute best way possible. It gave him this incredible structure and focus that completely changed his entire vibe on the hardwood.
Which brings us to Section 4, competing during Ramadan.
So this intense devotion set the stage for one of the most grueling physical challenges imaginable in sports. Just think about the physical toll of playing against the most elite, gigantic, powerful athletes in the world without a single drop of water or a bite of food during daylight hours. No hydration during practice, no pregame meals. It's a massive, massive physical sacrifice, right in the middle of a brutal 82-game NBA season. Yet, remarkably, in February of 1995, during the rigorous fasting month of Ramadan, Hakeem didn't just survive on the court, he actually elevated his game. He literally won the NBA Player of the Month award while fasting. He was outplaying everybody else in the league under conditions that would completely sideline most people. No way around it. That is just incredible.
So how exactly did he pull that off? Well, he noted that fasting instilled a spiritual mindset that gave him the sheer stamina required to play. He actually felt stronger and more energetic. He seamlessly harmonized the incredibly demanding physical requirements of his profession with his deep religious obligations. It is just such a testament to the power of the mind and spirit over physical exhaustion.
Let's head into our final section, Section 5, being Muslim in the NBA.
Hakeem's undeniable presence really paved the way for future generations. Spanning from Turkey to Senegal to the U.S., players like Enes Kanter, Gorgui Dieng, and Kenneth Farid have all followed in his footsteps. They're navigating that super unique intersection of their faith in the very public, heavily scheduled life of the NBA. And Hakeem was really the blueprint for showing that it could be done at the highest possible level.
Now, one of the practical realities these players face, as our sources point out, is the logistical hurdle of prayer. The Islamic faith requires prayer 5 times a day at prescribed times. Now, imagine trying to balance that while you're juggling cross-country flights, mandatory team practices, media scrums, and live game broadcasts. It is a serious daily challenge to find the time and space to observe this core pillar of the faith.
So, how do players actually adapt to that? Well, former Timberwolves center Gorgui Dieng noted that despite the occasional confused look from teammates who might not totally understand the practice, he and others remain steadfast. They just carve out moments for spiritual reflection right there in the locker room, fresh off the court. It really shows a powerful dedication to maintaining their identity, totally regardless of the environment. We also see in the sources how these players addressed public misconceptions. Living out in the public eye, they often find themselves having to firmly clarify that their religion is rooted in peace, balance, and charity, which is in stark contrast to the radical extremism that sometimes gets portrayed in the media. They use their platforms to patiently educate teammates and fans, pushing back against ignorance by basically just leading by example and representing the true nature of their beliefs.
And this dynamic, it can be really complex. That was highlighted back in 1996 when Mahmoud Abdul Rauf refused to stand for the national anthem due to his religious convictions. It was a stance that drew massive public controversy for sure, but it also drew a lot of respect from peers. Hakeem Olajuwon respected Abdul Rauf's right to use his platform to try and make a positive change. It really highlights the support network that exists among these athletes as they navigate their beliefs on such a massive national stage.
As we wrap up this explainer, consider how Hakeem Olajuwon's devotion didn't just coexist with his basketball greatness, it actively fueled it. His faith gave him the discipline to become a champion and the grace to become an absolute icon. So how does a player's faith ultimately redefine their athletic legacy? Well, it transforms them from just an athlete into a true pioneer. Hakeem proved that you absolutely do not have to compromise who you are to be the best in the world. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope this gives you a whole new perspective the next time you watch the greats take the court.